Welcome to part 8 of the Kicho Wong Dong series. In this month's episode we're going to look at a punching exercise called Pahl. It simply means arm exercise. So this is not a fighting or blocking or line work drill as the other techniques we've looked at. It is simply a warm-up exercise, but it develops a lot of principles of all your basic techniques. So to start out, you need to understand the stance. The stance is called Kimajasa or horse riding stance. This stance is developed to strengthen the quadriceps, strengthen your lower back, strengthen the glutes, and give you a good base for all your techniques. So you start in our Chumbijasa with your feet at shoulder width, and then Kimajasa is twice shoulder width. Make sure the toes are facing forward, that your knees are tracking over the ankles, and your back is straight by tucking your coccyx. In order to make sure you're doing the stance correctly, the best way is to use a wall. Take a step forward, take your legs out to twice shoulder width distance, and then lean your back into the wall with your toes facing forward. Lower yourself until your quadriceps and upper thighs are parallel to the floor, 90 degrees in relation with your knees. Now, the usual common mistake is either people have their shoulders pushed against it or their lower back. Make sure the whole back is pushed against. Once you feel comfortable, take your arms forward into a triangle so you can look to that triangle for focus, and then try and hold for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute. And then you can do pulses or other exercises to help strengthen your legs. Once you have the stance down, it is then time to learn how to throw a punch. Now, the first lesson will be how to make a fist. This might seem fairly obvious to a lot of you, but it's a simple trick of bending your fingers and wrapping your thumb around. So many times I see people, children and adults, who have their thumb tucked or their thumb sticking out. Your thumb should come around. Make sure that you are punching to the solar plexus. Oftentimes I see that people are punching everywhere, up, down, left, right. Again, when you're punching, punch from your elbow in a straight line and push forward with your hip. The exercise should start from Chumbi straight into the punch, and you should drop straight into the stance and punch at the same time as you land. Once you're there, you should stay there in as low a stance as you can maintain without compromising. Again, when you start, your stance will be quite high, and as you develop the strength in your legs and your back and your core, you should be able to get lower and lower, but it should never be lower than a 90-degree bend from your knee. So your legs should be parallel to the floor. That should be the lowest. And then the difficult thing is staying that low. So the instructor usually starts off calling out one punch at a time, and the idea is to punch as hard as you can and snap the arm with your breath. There are other variations such as a double punch or a triple punch. They might take it into various heights of the punch, and then there is the other element that is continuous punching. This exercise has many common mistakes, and I'm not going to cover them all here. I'm just going to try and pick the main ones. One of the main elements is people having straight legs. Your legs will start to burn when you start punching, and the temptation is to straighten your legs straight away to go away from the pain. This is very common, and it is okay. The idea is that you should concentrate on your punching, so you keep your stance low and try not to raise up. A very important one is the angle of the knees. Your knees should be directly over your ankles. If your knees are tracking forward or tracking back, that means that your back is not straight, or you're leaning too much and you're putting undue pressure on your knees and ankles and joints. So please really concentrate on keeping the toes forward, not splayed out like a side stance. Kimajasa's toes are forward, and then making sure that your knees are not tracking forward. Big common mistake is in the continuous punching especially, people don't bring their arms back fully to chamber it, and then they end up doing rabbit punches because they want to punch as fast as they can. Remember, it's quality over quantity, and make sure every punch is as strong as the other. So you need to bring it all the way back and punch all the way forward. Try not to cheat it, try not to rabbit punch, just to get out your punches. Once you feel like you have a good papaki, there are some excellent ways to test your technique to see if you are doing it correctly. And this one, because it's an exercise, is even simpler. So we're going to go through the three elements again and just tick them off. So the first one is about the stance. If you think you're doing your stance correctly, then balance something on your legs. Start off with, for example, a focus pad on each leg, and then hold out in your stance again for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. And for something more advanced, use your staff that sort of can roll forward if you're at the wrong angle, and just try and hold that for a maximum of 2 minutes. The second test then is, are you punching correctly? So you can do this with partners. I'm using the bob. I just stay in my stance and I try and punch without losing my stance. If I punch and then I fall backwards, I don't have a strong stance. If I punch and raise up, I don't have a strong stance. So you can just keep punching, again, 30 seconds, a minute, a maximum 2 minutes, staying in that low stance, generating that power in each of your punches, try and make them as strong as possible, and connecting with the 2 knuckles. A way to make it more difficult is to have a partner hold your belt down and pull you down. Now, your third test then is to put the 2 together, to have something resting on your legs as you punch. And again, if you're a younger student, try not to use weights, as you don't need to develop that yet, but I'm using very light weights and I'm punching slowly to keep my posture. And again, once you feel you have the technique, as long as you don't hyperextend your arm, you can punch at a faster pace. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial on the Pahl Paki. It is a fundamental element of Tang Soo and most traditional martial arts training. It is something that will help you with all your forms, all your stances and basics. So please do not skip out on your Pahl Paki and don't cheat it. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please feel free to leave a comment underneath for any future videos you would like to see, and we will see you in a month. Tang Soo.